that's a tremendous looking trophy.
Hello, welcome to the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Dylan Blight. Joining me, as always, Ashley Hobley.
Hey, John, excited to be here and excited that, my DualSense are updated now.
Yeah, did you? So here's the problem I had. Did you have to do one USB plug-in?
Nope.
Yes, what the fuck? So I turn on one of my control for one of my PlayStations. What a fucking sentence. For one of my PlayStation 5s, I turn on my normal one that's plugged into my TV that's used for normal use. That one updated wirelessly. My one that I've got set up basically just as a VR console at the moment. That one, the DualSense I had to plug it in. It wouldn't, even after the update, it still wouldn't. So I was like, is the firmware on this one so old that like they still need something like that? Like I just hadn't updated it for ages.
Out of the box, yeah.
Well, I don't think I had. That one was the purple one I got, and I don't think I'd updated that out of the box at all. So maybe that was the difference. So I was like, because I did the other one first and updated wirelessly. I was like, how cool is this?
Yeah, we're in the future.
We're in the future, baby. And then I go to the other one, and I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. And I double checked that I've updated the PlayStation and everything. I was like, God damn it. Anyway, so yeah. Talking about the future, let's get straight into it. So yeah, that was part of the firmware. So DualShock is right here. PlayStation 5 system update 7.0 finally adds Discord voice chat. The full integration of Discord now allows users to join a voice chat straight from the PlayStation 5, a feature that was not previously available when Discord was made available for the platform last year. PlayStation 5's latest system software update also introduces a variety of UX accessibility and social features. So new social features: join a Discord voice chat on your PS5 console. To start, link your Discord and PlayStation Network accounts from your PS5 console, PlayStation.com, or the Discord app on Windows, Mac, or mobile devices. Then use the Discord app on your mobile device or computer to get a Discord voice chat going on your PS5 console. Make sure your Discord app is updated to the latest version. You can also let your Discord friends see what you're playing online. You could do that previously. Note, if you've linked your PlayStation Network and Discord accounts in the past to display what game you're playing, you'll need to relink them. So on that one, have you relinked all that, done all your Discord or your...
I assume so.
Your stuff to... You sure? Well, so when I opened Discord after the update went live, Discord was prompted me. It's like, hey, you've got to relog into PlayStation. So I don't know if you got prompted to relink them, but that's how you sort of have to go. Now, the problem is this has still got the same problem that Xbox has with their Discord integration, is that you still, like, there's no, like, it's still sort of fumbly, the process of getting the chat. Like, it works. Like, and this is the problem I had when I did the Xbox one, is you can get it open and you can open the chat and connect it and all this sort of stuff, which is fine. And once you're in, I'm assuming it's fine. Obviously, I haven't done any Discord chat stuff, but it's just the actual connecting it part is still a little bit like press this button here and then open. You
still need a second
send device. It there, yeah, and all that stuff. This is what they're trying to get past. Xbox is they've already said that they're working on some update where, well, actually it might be up, but they were working on one that was. But they're already ahead. Obviously, they've had that Discord integration for months now, way longer than we've had it at PlayStation. But theirs is a lot smoother now. So this is step one. I would still hope that it's improved upon to make it, one button press, join a Discord. Now there's like open your phone, send the be like,
to use a Pedro Pascal main. It's good, but it could be better.
Correct, could be better.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Just let me, just integrate more Discord in. I know, voice chat might seem like it's the most basic thing, but let us, message each other through Discord and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It'd be good if you could, like, in Discord, you could see like a menu for people who are messaging on PSN, and you just send a message, like that level of integration.
Yeah.
To your PlayStation chats.
Both, or like,
yeah, something like that. Also, part of the update, they've said you can now start a request to share screen from your friend's profile. So you can now be like, hey, I want to watch your game simply from their profile for people who care about that. New join game icon and party chats. On the voice chat card, a joinable icon will be displayed for party members playing a game you can join. You can then join the game directly by selecting the player and then selecting join game from the menu. New friends who play tile. In Game Hub, you can now see which of your friends have the game, who is currently online, and who is currently playing the game. By selecting the tile, you can see what your friends are doing now. You can also access your friends' profiles, where you'll be given more interaction options. I haven't really played around with that tile, but that could be potentially make jumping into certain like modes in a game faster, I guess. Maybe. We'll see. Manually upload game captures to PlayStation app. You can now manually select and upload individual screenshots or game clips to the PlayStation app from your PS5 console, then easily share them on social media apps with your friends. So the difference is, for people who haven't been or don't care about the feature, the difference was that all your screen, like, so if you took a screenshot in the game you're playing right now, it would automatically upload it to the profile, and then they would cycle out like the old ones and stuff like that. But now you can go back, select a screenshot that you took from a game 2 months ago, push it to the app, and then from the app post it to Twitter while you're on your way to work or whatever on the bus. That's the difference. Why this wasn't always an option, don't know. It's just one of those things. New gameplay and personalization options. Variable refresh rate support for 1440p. You can now enjoy smoother visual performance when using a VRR-compatible HDMI 2.1 display at 1440p resolution when playing a game that supports VRR. This is very nuanced thing. This obviously it's primarily for people who have setups where they're using a 2K monitor, which a lot of people, like, for example, my monitor is a 1440p monitor. It's not a 4K monitor. A lot of people only have 1440p computer monitors because that's like getting a full 4K one is sort of redundant with the size most people have monitors at. This now allows them to reach that resolution, because before they could only do 1080. It was either 1080 or 4K. Like, so you weren't able to use the best of your monitor if you had your PlayStation 5 plugged into it. And even if your monitor supported VRR, and it was HDMI 2.1 compatible, you still weren't able to use those. So for the people that are doing that, mainly, I guess, content creators and stuff like that, a lot of those people play at desks, streamers, etc., that sort of stuff. So it's going to be good for them. And then they note you've also made some updates to parameters of the PS5 console's 1440p output test, enabling 1440p support for a wider gambit of HDMI supplies. Game library enhancements. You can now also sort and filter games when adding games to the game list. You can use filters in your library to easily find PSVR games as well as PSVR2 titles when PSVR2 launches, which is out now. What was I doing over there? I started what was I doing over there? I was watching something on one monitor, just like chilling out for half an hour. And then I started, because I had my PlayStation open here while after I'd done some VR. I was taking a break because I was like I need a break from VR. So I just like was getting a little bit of fresh air the other week. And I was going through my library and I'm sorting all the games. I don't want to tease or something. I was sorting all the trophy games that I've got that I haven't got the platinum in. So all these, like, they pop up. I brought a fuck ton over the holiday break, a bunch of these Ratatalica ones or whatever. I sent a screenshot to Radio Watson's buddy Watson of the amount of games I brought and the price and the saving, and it was like ridiculous. But I haven't done any of them. I haven't got the platinums. And so I was moving them all into a folder, and just I can't remember what I'm at, but just, I didn't know this, or maybe I did know this and I forgot, but you can only have 100 games in a folder in your collection thing once you create one. So I've had to make another folder called Trophy Games Folder 2. So I have over 100 platinums sitting there waiting to pop. And I don't know when and how long I want to keep like stacking them up. But I do think eventually my idea is to like reach a number, decide a stream, and just see how many fucking...
Is that what we do for Plat 300?
Depends how many I can get. Yeah, maybe. See what the number is. I just like see how many platinums I can smash out in like... It'll be the most boring thing to watch. It'll be the most boring thing for me to do nearly. But also, please come watch. So, but I've just been stacking them up because that's why if you've been like, man, Dylan hasn't talked about any shitty platinums on here for months and months and months. I've just been saving them up for a rainy day sort of thing. Game presets for multiplayer session preferences. You can now set your preferences to manage who can join and who can invite other players to multiplayer sessions you've created for supported games. Cool. New accessibility and easy use features. PS4 to PS5 save data migration. We're making it easier for you to access your PS4 save data on your PS5 console for two ways. When you download or install a PS4 game on your PS5 console, a notification that PS4 save data is available in your PlayStation Network cloud storage will appear if your PS5 console doesn't already have the save data for the game. Simply select the notification, download your save data. That's awesome. When you download or install a PS5 game that can load PS4 save data, such as the PS5 version of a game that was also released on PS4, the same notification will appear if the game supports this feature. That's cool. You can also now data transfer PS5 to PS5. So if you're, for some reason, replacing a PS5 or buying a special edition one that maybe they have coming up, I don't know. Screen reader improvements. The screen reader now gives you more detailed guidance. That's cool for people who need that sort of stuff. Wireless device update for DualSense wireless controller. This is what we was just talking about. So now you don't need to plug in your USB-C cable to update your DualSense controller. When that stuff pops up, you will simply be able to click OK and download it. And then they've added some voice command stuff, though it's only US and UK limited at the moment, and that's bullshit because this is a feature we've been joking about for so long. I need it in my life. But the voice commands that they're playing around with is stuff as, hey PlayStation, capture that, which is nearly exactly the same as, hey PlayStation, save clip, which is what I need in my life. So
or you don't even want to say hey, you just want to say PlayStation save.
I just want to say PlayStation save clip. That's been the meme for years amongst the
maybe we can program it to this is how we pronounce it.
Yeah. Yeah. The Australian slang is PlayStation save clip. So hopefully that's the thing. What the fuck else was I going to say? I connected to that. Oh, the other thing I noticed, it's not listed there, and I only noticed this last night. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but maybe this was part of an old update, and I literally only just noticed, but I swear it can't be. Bottom, if you're looking at a game tile, like on the screen, hovering over it or whatever, bottom right-hand corner, it now says a playtime. Have you seen this?
No, or I haven't noticed.
So like when I not for every game. So I don't know what the metrics is in the background. So I was playing Demeo last night, which I'll get to a bit later in the PSVR thing. I quit out of the game, bottom right hand corner, playtime. I'm like, oh, never noticed that before. I scroll along to something else on my little home screen there, another game, whatever it was, and suddenly that one's saying percentage. That one's like, oh, you've this much percentage of the game is complete. Scroll along to the next one. You've played this game for, like, I got to scroll along to Apex, the PS5 version. It's like, you've played it for 12 hours, bottom right-hand corner. So I think I've never noticed any of that down there. I don't know why some are the same percentage, one the same playtime, what the maths is behind the scenes to that. But I feel like they must have been pushed through in this last update as well. Surely I would have noticed that. I like seeing play counters and stuff like that. All right, let's get into some other news for the week. So a lot of the show this week, completely honest, going to be about Last of Us until we get through to some VR stuff at the back end of the show once again, as my weeks and weeks and weeks of VR play continues to roll along. But Jules Shockers writes, The Last of Us Part 1 remake PC port has reportedly been developed by Iron Galaxy. They wrote, The Last of Us Part 1 remake is supposed to be launched on PC later this month, and while we thought it would be a Naughty Dog product or at least a port from Sony's internal studio Nixes, the PC version has reportedly been developed by Iron Galaxy. Although it hasn't been an official announcement, Naughty Dog recently updated its blog post for the system requirements of the PC version of The Last of Us Part 1 remake, and now includes an image where you can spot Iron Galaxy's logo at the bottom. Blah, 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 blah. Sony's own studio Nixes has ported many PlayStation games to PC, including the acclaimed port of Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. While it was expected the studio would be handling Sony's high-profile ports, it would also appear Iron Galaxy is responsible for Last of Us Part 1 remake. It's kind of weird, right?
Not necessarily.
I thought Nixes was like the...
This kind of feels like they needed a last second, we need a helping hand with this. And obviously Iron Galaxies, they did the Nathan Drake collection port. And also, Nixes could be working on something else. Because of course we knew this got delayed, right?
It got delayed by like a month.
By a month, so yeah. Whether they needed some extra hands on deck, and they're like, oh, Iron Galaxies, their Rumbleverse game took us up. I'm sure they need the work.
Iron Galaxies literally just released the Metro Prime remaster, which everyone loves. Retro, or they helped put that out. So yeah, they're doing okay.
They're doing okay.
Yeah, but I thought that was a bit interesting because the thing after Nixes was brought, it was like, okay, well
they're doing everything.
They're doing everything, but apparently not. So there you go. Maybe they are working on something else. But then it's like, okay, well, what are they working on? What game are they now bringing to PC? Last of Us Part 2? I don't know.
Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank. Spider-Man. No, Miles Morales is already out, right?
On PC? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't keep up. Continuing on the Naughty Dog train, PlayStation Lifestyle writes, Druckmann confirms The Last of Us 3 won't be the next game from Naughty Dog after The Last of Us standalone multiplayer release. Players calling for The Last of Us Part 3 players have been calling for The Last of Us Last of Us 3 for quite a while, but while Druckmann has heard those requests, it won't be the team's next project. He told Kinda Funny that as Naughty Dog is in a position where they aren't obligated to make sequels, so they consider multiple different games and pick one that sounds most appealing. Quote, I know the fans really want The Last of Us Part 3. They hear about it all the time. All I can say is that we're already into our next project. The decision has already been made. I can't say what it is, but that's the process we went through, that there are a lot of consideration of different things, and we picked the thing we're most excited about. So, of course, the next game coming out is The Last of Us multiplayer, supposedly this year. But the next game after that from Naughty Dog won't be The Last of Us Part 3, which I feel like is...
That quote does not rule it out.
It does. It says the next game that they're working on is... he says, I know that fans really want The Last of Us Part 3.
Yeah, I know. Yes, that's true.
All I can say is that we're already into our next project. So you're going to try and say that they've already made the game?
No, what I'm saying is, all I can say is we're already into our next project. That doesn't rule out the next project is not Last of Us Part 3.
You're really into the weeds there if you're...
He's not confirming that it is Last of Us Part 3. If you were to address that question and not want to say it's Last of Us Part 3, this is the next thing you're working on, that's how you would word it.
Well, do you reckon they are doing The Last of Us Part 3?
No.
Mr. fucking...
No, I think they definitely are going to put something else in between. I think there's been long speculated they're working on a new IP, so that would be my guess.
Yeah, I feel like...
Give that Part 3 story more time to percolate.
I mean, it would be weird. Like, I think they definitely... I feel like it definitely will be a new IP, and Last of Us Part 3 would be after that. That would make sense. And also, to be fair, I feel like he would definitely be sick of that world at some point here, because so they've done Last of Us Part 2, been working on Last of Us Factions or whatever it ends up being called, Last of Us TV series. He's about to start work on Last of Us Season 2. Like he has a lot of Last of Us happening in his life, even if he's not working on Last of Us Part 3. So my only question is, because I've brought this up several times, so we've got a story coming up, and we'll talk a little bit more about where and how you reckon they split it. But they've officially said they're getting 3 more seasons. So they'll be Last of Us Part 2 will be 2 seasons. In the world where these games take millions of years to be made, do you reckon we reach a point where The Last of Us Part 3 comes out, and then like the year after that you've already got like the 4th season of the show sort of adapting that? Like, are we gonna reach like such a close
that's what HBO would want.
Yeah.
And also, I suspect
Sony wouldn't mind,
based on the cadence of how these HBO big TV series come out, Last of Us Part Season 2 is not going to come out till 2025 at the earliest. So again, if you're going, then you go another 2 seasons, Season 3 won't be out till 2027. You're giving yourself a fair amount of lead time to potentially release a part, and then you assume maybe they do diverge for a potential 4 or 5 season
it's like
before tackling Part 3.
Factions comes out this year. Naughty Dog's next game comes out 2026. 2025 at the earliest, maybe.
Yeah.
2026. Last of Us Part 3 comes out 2030. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's so hard to predict, especially with development times being so
I'm going to fucking
wild.
die before this guy. I'm going to be old. I'm going to be like 40. Let's talk about more Last of Us in some PlayStation Productions segment. So, of course, if you want to hear our full spoiler thoughts on the last episode or any of the episodes, of course, they've been posting on the Platinum Explosion feed. The finale is up now. The entire season's done. We've talked about it week by week on here. I feel like that worked. Hopefully, everyone enjoys it. Hoping getting the spoiler casts on this feed. Hopefully, that's not like weird for a show that usually has one episode posting, or like usually we just talk about video games or whatever. I know usually that stuff would go on the whatever watch feed or whatever, but I feel like it makes more sense considering we do the PlayStation Productions segment here and talk about these shows quite a lot, like in the news cycle leading up to their releases. So hopefully it all makes sense. Because I definitely want to do a Twisted Metal one. Would be the next thing. So spin off of that, however and whenever that's coming up. So. But The Last of Us has smashed all records. So Press Out writes, The Last of Us finale broke first day records yet again. HBO has announced that the ninth and final episode of its TV adaptation of The Last of Us has once again broken viewership records, pulling in 8.2 million sets of eyeballs for its premiere night. For comparison's sake, episode 8 topped out at 8.1 million, while the very first episode debuted at 4.7 million viewers. So this week has come to close that, doubling that number for the second time in a row. HBO says that The Last of Us has been the top title across HBO Max for the entire 8 weeks it's been airing, averaging over 13 million total viewers across the first 6 episodes. It's also listed the full premiere night numbers for each episode. Episode 1, 4.7, then they got to 5.7, 6.4, 7.5, 11.6 for episode 5. Episode 6, that was the early premiere one.
Yeah, so that includes data from Friday to Sunday.
Yeah, Friday, Sunday, yeah. So it's a bit...
That's why it's big.
Bit whacked out. Episode 6, 7.8, 7, 7.7, 8, 8.1, and then 9, 8.2. It literally went up and up and up, even taking out that 11.6, because that's a weird one. It just went up and up and up. The only dip was the slight 7.8 to 7.7 between 6 and 7. Otherwise, it was every week... just up and up and up. So yeah, smash hit. Everyone loved it. You're definitely going to get a second season. I know we're talking about a second ago, like you're probably not going to see the show to 2025. I don't feel like they're going to make them rush it. Like get it out by next year. That doesn't feel like the way it's going to go.
No, that's not HBO style. So.
It's not HBO style, but I reckon they want them to get it out as fast as they could. It's not a, hey like, guys, if you can't get it out to 2025, that's fine. But like, it's the same period. It's February 2025. It's not fucking, I reckon they're going to start, or at least start pre-production on the writing and all that. Like, I reckon that ball's rolling soon. Like, I don't reckon they're going to get much like time to relax and sit around and enjoy their laurels and stuff. I reckon the pre-production time on this and the working out how they're going to tell that game and the story and everything like that, that's going to take months and months and months. That might take an entire fucking year for them to work out. Building sets, all that, all that sort of shit. So I will be shocked if they're not already into this quick within the next couple months, to be honest. What do you reckon?
Sorry, what?
Like, do you reckon they just start pre-production, like the writer's room and all that sort of stuff, like pretty fast?
I don't think there'll be any rush, I think, obviously, they'd have ideas already percolating and they've already obviously got plans of what they want to overall do. But, yeah, I suspect in the next couple of months they would be starting to crack down and start getting into that because, obviously it's a big production. Like, they took their time making this series, so they're going to have to probably have a very long shooting period again, so. And
this is a smaller series, so...
Yeah, this is House of the Dragon with a bunch of, like, crazy sets.
Yeah.
Not to say this doesn't have crazy sets, but...
The Last of Us 2 will be split across 2 or more seasons for TV adaptation, right, to Push Square. Last of Us HBO adaptation has just come to close, blah, 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 blah. With the first season broadly covering the entirety of the first season story, the video game sequel is next to be adapted for TV. However, with the larger scope of Part 2, it will be divided into 2 seasons or possibly more. In a GQ interview, Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin are asked if the second season will cover part 2. Quote, no way, responds Mazin. Druckmann adds, quote, it's more than one season. He elaborates, talking about what he's excited for as they move for the sequel. Quote, some of the stuff I'm most excited for in part 2 are the changes we've discussed and seeing the story come to life again in this other version. And I think it's exciting because it leans into those feelings you had from the game really heavily in a new way, end quote. So although a third season is yet to be formally confirmed, it sounds as though that's very much the plan. Given how successful the first season has been, it shouldn't come as a big surprise here they'll be sticking around, and part 2 may have a little bit more room to breathe, with at least twice as many episodes to play with. So I know, like, so skip ahead if you, I don't want to go into like full spoilers for The Last of Us, but like, and I don't like doing spoilers on the spoiler cast past the episode we're discussing, but given this is the core Platinum Explosion episode and, you know, the game's out for years and stuff like that. Obviously the main split, the split that everyone's going to jump to is going to be the fact that the game is very clearly has a split point that you could go, that's season 1, that's season 2. That being, you've had Abby, you'll have Ellie's story in part 1, and then it comes to that same sort of stop point at the theater, and then you rewind and you have part 2, the next season's all Abby. I think we've briefly talked about this before, but my only problem with this is that is such a risk to take because the visceral reaction that people had to Abby in the games, we're going to go through again with a new TV audience, right?
Yeah.
And then if you do it that way, that means you're ending the first season with this massive cliffhanger, and then you're committing an entire season to a character that people potentially have zero interest in watching and hating. Now, this happened in the game, but people still played it, and either they came out the other end discovering that they were wrong, and hopefully that's the idea of the game, obviously, is you go along the journey and you like, or at least understand Abby more by the time you're done doing it. I don't think you're supposed to enjoy playing as her from the outset. I don't think having the show where you're enjoying watching her from the outset that wouldn't be abnormal, but it's just in a world where people will go, fuck this, turn it off. Like, do you reckon they're willing to make that risk, an entire season dedicated to Abby?
No, I don't think they do. I mean, it would be a bold choice. Like, they, especially in my mind, if they were to do it that way, they would do the 9 episodes leading, like 9 production episodes leading up to the split, and then the season finale would be the first part of Abby's story. Just to lean, kind of slowly get you in. Yeah. But from the sound of it, they look like they want to tell the story in a different direction. Like, I think there could be a bunch of different ways you could do it. Like, do you do it chronologically, cutting back between Ellie and Abby all season? Like, is the opening of this season, like season 2, Abby coming to the hospital? That could be interesting. I think it comes down to how much do you want to squeeze out of Pedro Pascal? Could you keep him all season until the season finale?
It's hard because they're talking about 2 seasons, and I feel like 2 seasons is a minimum. I honestly feel like there's easily enough here to stretch the second game into like 3 seasons. Like, let's not forget about the fact that you could easily spend way more time in Jackson before the events. That's an episode or 2 of stuff just happening, getting, like, building upon these relationships, making the audience feel so much more attached just to fuck them, would be a perfectly acceptable decision. I know it's fucked up, but like perfectly acceptable decision. Then, like, by the time you even have all the Abby stuff and all these other characters that again, you spend so much time in those gameplay segments, even as with Ellie getting to know all these, spending time with what the fuck is the guy's name? I can't remember. You know how she is like anyway, she's got her 2 companions, right? So a lot of those small moments, and my complaints about the series the first season is a lot of the connection is lost because you don't have as much time with the characters. A lot of the time in the game is in these small gameplay segments when you're wandering around doing gameplay and climbing things and the characters are chatting and whatever else. Abby has that too with her bunch. And I almost feel like the biggest mistake that the show could make is not spending enough time with Abby's side on her characters. Because if you don't understand her care for them, Abby's story doesn't really work. Like, and that's the other thing. Let's not even get into the fact that you've got all these other characters that come into it later. The fact that there's literally the third act of the game could be an entire season of itself. You could nearly stretch that entire thing out into an entire season. Because in the game, it almost feels like it jump cuts you to a certain section and you could get way more out of that if you wanted to. That game is just ripe for like storytelling and expanding upon so many different characters. Like the fact they expanded Bill in an entire episode, I'm like, well, fuck. Like the amount of characters you could expand upon similarly is just crazy. So yeah, that's it. I honestly, if they were like, nah, if we're doing Last of Us Part 2, it's probably going to be 3-4 seasons, I'd be like, yeah, that doesn't even sound like you're stretching it. That just sounds right to me. 2 seasons is a minimum to me. Like that's not even like best case scenario.
Yeah.
And I'm both looking forward to this, but not at the same time. Like my brother asked me about it and like the story because he's had the main thing spoiled. Like he saw it on the Twitter or whatever. He's like, oh, people can. I'm like, that's the tip of the iceberg.
Just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
The tip of the iceberg as far as like things that upset people on the internet about this story. And I told him, I'm like, I've only played it once. He's like, why? I'm like, I can't play it again. Why? I'm like, it's the most fucking, it's just, it is just still probably one of the most like emotionally wrecking things that you could experience. Like, it is, I don't know how, like, you know, the idea of going back and getting the platinum and just collectibles and all that, I'm like, I can't, like, it's just, game wrecks your soul.
But yeah, check out Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, I know.
PSVR for the players.
All right, finishing up. Let's a little bit of VR. I think it's week 3. That's what I've put in the notes here anyway. I think
that sounds right.
That sounds right. So Horizon, I finished up. I got a review up on explosionhour.com. This is the first review I've got up, so hopefully I can start bowling over some more because that game was way longer than I thought it was going to be. I didn't like it. I gave it a 5. I think you could probably tell talking about it. Like I think it's highly overrated by anyone giving it like really high scores. I think they're being, to be completely honest, I feel like the good looks of it in a VR, it is a good looking VR game. Like it's pretty when you're in there, but as far as gameplay, as far as enjoyment, which is, you know, fuck me if I want to enjoy playing a video game. It's just very repetitive, very boring. You end up spending, I feel like if the game was like 3 hours, a lot of my problems would be fixed, but the game is like 8 to 10 hours. Unless you're rushing through it, I guess, but it's probably like 8 to 10 hours for most people. And it sounds like an exaggeration, but I don't feel like I'm exaggerating. You're probably spending 80% of the game staring at walls because you just spend so much of it just climbing shit. And it becomes so boring and repetitive. And even though you unlock more tools as you get along, it's like, oh, now you got a climbing axe. And oh, now you got this like rope thing that helps you pull up certain sections. They're all just like little interactions that ultimately just slightly change up the fact that you're just sitting here in VR, just moving your hands above one another and climbing across things. And you're like, cool, I'm so just over this. Like, fuck. Like, it's not fun. Like, it's not fun. Like, fun's not a good word to use, and like it's just so redundant most of the time, but it's simply not fun. The game, the combat stuff when you get into fighting monsters, the robots, whatever we call them, it's fine. Like it works. If there'd been more of that and less of the climbing, I think that definitely would have helped the game. But I like the way that it puts together. I like the fact that depending on the comfort settings you have. So basically what happens is anytime you enter, I can't remember if I covered this or not, but anytime you enter into an area where you're going to fight, you'll know it because you'll walk into like a big open area. Your character then gets locked. So up until this point, you have like free walk. You can climb around, do whatever. You walk around the area and explore a little bit in these sections and whatever else. But then get locked into like a circular area, and you can sidestep around this giant, like the arena where you're fighting in a circular motion. So you can, depending on what control settings you have up for, like, to help you not be throwing up, you can do different motions to dodge the enemy attacks and stuff like that. But basically, you're just like dodging around, lining up your arrows, switching between electric arrows and stuff, and shooting it. And all of that's cool because it's still the same tactic as the game, where you've got to try and knock off their weapons and hit them with the right weak points and all that stuff. Like, it feels like Horizon when you're fighting them. But yeah, it's like very short. Like, there's one fight for the most levels. There ends up being like 2 fights in the last couple of levels as they like start introducing. Well, there'll be like a mid-level fight and then a level fight with a big like Thunder Maw or Jaw or whatever as well. But and the story is just like so forgettable. The main character you're playing as, whatever. The group you're playing as is, I don't even know what the main story was at this point. I've just whatever. So yeah, I gave it a 5. I don't think it's very good. Definitely not the selling point for VR. It's not the showcase. It's yeah. Honestly, I'm more likely to suggest to you a bunch of old VR games to play on picking up PSVR2 than I am to suggest this PSVR2 exclusive, which is sad, but also just, I think you can get, for the price of this, you could get like 5-6 other way better games. Might not look as pretty. It's going to be a lot more fun to play. So, the other thing I should have a review up for next is Demeo, because that's one I'm trying to get done next. Then probably Moss after that would be the row I'm going. But Demeo, which I was a little bit iffy on at first because I kept dying in sections, or I kept like struggling with it. I've now had a few play sessions online which have been good, and I've managed to like finish campaigns. Because the problem with this game is, and this is my main problem/criticism, is that there's like, I think there's 5 campaigns, right? So Demeo, I think I briefly covered it, where it's like basically a D&D game, but just the combat. So you're not doing like character like moments and stuff like that. It's just like you're rolling dice, you're moving you're looking over a board in front of you, and you get to move your little piece, and you get like cards that can do like special attacks like fireballs and stuff like that, or you can just like drop your piece onto an enemy and they'll attack them, and so on and so forth. You have turn, the people you're playing with, up to 3 other players have turns. The enemy, who's controlled by like a dungeon master, has their turn. The campaigns will take you like probably on average 2 hours to beat. As you sort of make your way through. There's a first level where you have to get a key off a monster, go for a door, and then there's a second level, and then the third level of every campaign's a boss battle versus like the big like the one I did last night was the Rat King, I think, one. So at the end of that, it's like there's a Rat King who spews out rats and stuff like that and whatever else. In between each of these, the first and second and third levels, you can buy cards with gold you pick up to buy like, so you can buy like health potion cards, so you can heal, you can buy fire spells, you can buy whatever else. You get cards given to you as you play the game by the experience that builds up as any player defeats a monster. So like you all get 1 card each. Anytime you find a chest, someone opens that, everyone gets a card. So it's like build around cooperative experience. But yeah, so the last couple of play sessions I've had where I've got in, and you can join, like maybe they're halfway through the first stage, maybe they're up to the boss. It doesn't matter. Like you can just quick play, join a match. But it's like way cooler because I did 1 match in non-VR. It's fine. In non-VR, it's fine. It's a game. It's like very basic. But when you're playing it in VR and you join into a match and you can see the other 2-3 people you're playing with, like heads, like the little mask things floating there with their hands, and they're like there's like talking, and then you'll see someone like move their piece and like they're like, all right, I'm gonna fireball this dude, and then they roll a dice and they get what's basically a 1 equivalent in this game. It's like a skull piece, and then you'll just hear this person, like last night someone rolled like this, he went to use like his big damage card, like an area of effect, like big spell on this group of enemies. Of course he rolled this, got the skull, and all I heard this dude just suddenly just go, fuck it. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's a fair reaction. I was like, good for you. But yeah, so like playing it, the other thing is the fact that you can tilt the board up, because straight away I realized when they introduced in the tutorial, they're like, you can tilt the board up. I'm like, why would it need to do that? But an hour into playing, if you come into it of the normal angle, and you realize that because it's a board game, you're spending an hour like looking down. You're like, oh fuck, my neck hurts suddenly after an hour. So then you can adjust and move your way to the board, like, so there's more eye level. But it's pretty cool. It's got crossplay, so the people you jumping into maybe playing on PlayStation just base, like just the normal, like playing on the TV screen. They may be playing on the PC version. They may be playing the PC VR version. It doesn't matter. Anyone can play together. That's totally fine. But yeah, if the game is like perfectly fine on PlayStation, being able to play it in VR just adds that next level effect. Like being able to pick up the dice, throw it yourself, being able to pick up the miniature, bring it up to your face, check out your little miniature and move the character around and all these sorts of things. It just adds like a whole new aspect to it, I guess. Like that, it's really hard to explain. It's just that feeling of actually being over and playing a board game. I think the simplicity works for it too. The fact that everyone just gets 2 turns and there's not like an over 2 actions, and every action is like movements in action, attacks in action. It's so easy to sort of pick up and understand. There are nuances once you get into it, over like secrets that I've seen other players do and say, like, this thing like really fucks up this particular enemy type, and it's just one of those things that you discover, and then it's like a knowledge share thing where someone's like, hey, if you use this item on this particular enemy, it just one-shots them, and it's like, oh fuck, like that's game changer. But the game doesn't tell you, so it's like that. It is that aspect of just like telling your friends like what works and stuff like that. So yeah, in a world where I'm saying don't get Horizon, if you've got PSVR2, I would, I know what my score is going to be or whatever, but a Demeo is definitely a high recommend, especially if you have any interest in Dungeons and Dragons or, board game miniature sort of stuff. It's definitely going to make you feel warm and fuzzy playing this, I think. So shit to play by yourself, I'll say. Shit to play by yourself. It's not, you can control all 4 characters. Nowhere near as fun. It's fucking boring. It's silent. You're like, this isn't much fun. Playing with other people, that's the way to play it. And I've never had any trouble getting into a game with other people because of the crossplay. The game has a very active, I've seen Reddit community, very active, I think, PC player base that crossing over into. And like one dude last night when he jumped on was just straight away like, man, I just picked up my PSVR and I was playing Horizon and I was playing this game and now I'm stopped playing this game because this game's awesome. I was like, so, there you go. There's your box quote. Sell it that way. So. Yeah, cool. So that's my VR update. So stay tuned for more reviews and stuff, and I'll keep updating week by week because I've got about 1 million games to finish. But that's fine. That'll do it for this week's episode of Platinum Explosion. And of course, let us know any comments, questions, concerns you've had about anything we've talked about this week on our Discord, on our Twitter, explosionnetwork.com/Twitter, explosionnetwork.com/Discord. If you like the show, you want to support it, you want to support the website, explosionnetwork.com/support. Buy us a coffee over there for $1. And until next week, remember that every one of those 100+ games I have counts as a fucking platinum.
I mean, not if you don't get the trophies.
Yeah, well, eventually.